test one. Okay. Audio test 2.
Audio test 3.
Good morning, Catherine.
Morning, Chair. How are you?
Terrific. And the groundhog didn't see its shadow. Well, at least one of them didn't. So it's all good news, we hope.
Good.
Hey, Georgie. Good morning. Morning, Laura.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Jeffrey. All right. Hey, Sean.
Morning.
Good morning. There's Matt. Okay, perfect.
Hi, everyone.
Well, it is now 9:30. I'm going to look around the Hollywood squares, as Jan likes to call them. Oh, there's Alan. Perfect timing, Alan. Thank you. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Transportation Committee meeting. We're having this meeting on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe people. And before we begin, we're going to do a quick roll call. So Kelly, if I can get you to do that roll call, please.
Councillor Lula,
Present.
Councillor Dudas. Here. Councillor El Shantiri,
Present.
Councillor Deans. Don't see Councillor Deans yet. Councillor Fleury. Oh. I think Councillor Fleury is just coming in. Councillor Menard. I saw you.
Here, I'm here, Kelly. I apologize. I could hear you, but couldn't say it.
Councillor Kitts.
Here.
Councillor DeRuz.
Here.
Councillor Hughley.
Here.
Vice Chair Leeper.
Good morning.
And Chair, and I see Councillor Deans is on as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, full house. So first confirmation of the minutes 24 December 1st, 2021. Got to get used to saying that. Are those
Mr.
confirmed?
Chair, I don't want to create chaos at the committee, but there is chaos on our streets, and I wonder if we can adjourn for today. And I don't know the procedure of what that would look like.
Councillor Fleury, actually, I've asked for guidance from the clerk's office, and they said that we do have a very full agenda for the next few transportation committee meetings. And I certainly agree there is chaos. But unfortunately, if we continue to back up our schedules, it's going to create much more of an issue for ourselves. We also have had staff work very hard on a presentation for today. So again, I'll look to the clerk on what that would look like. And I don't know, is Caitlin on here today?
My apologies. I'm just checking. I don't think she's on the call yet, but oh, she's trying. And bear with me for a second.
Great, thank you. And of note, there is a 2 p.m. meeting today as well to deal with the situation, just as a reminder for everyone that might be listening in on YouTube Nation.
Chair, it's Councillor Meehan. Is there anything new that's new and chaotic that's happening, or like, are we all up to date on what's happening?
I think I can speak up here. I'm a local councillor directly impacted by the situation, and I have a number of meetings and interventions that require my immediate attention.
Gotcha.
There are a number of agenda items that I would like to speak to. There are 2 inquiries that I have directions for. I don't understand. We're in a very serious state, and I would like for the committee's adjournment. I'm fine to move everything else in my calendar after this is all said and done, but Councillor Deans, Councillor Leeper, Councillor Menard, and I've been engaging with Councillor Luloff as well. Our attention is on one thing. It's for our communities and city, and I think that it should be our priority at this point. I'm sorry, Chair, to put it on you. It is an evolving situation, and I would ask for committee's collaboration.
Yeah, and again, we could put it to a vote, and certainly that would be the case. I'm looking for guidance from Caitlin, obviously, but there is a couple of other important items that have just arrived here too. One of them is specifically, we have some of these robots, and Councillor Menard's worked very hard. We want to address this issue because they're starting to pop up all of our communities. So there is business that does have to take place. The city just doesn't stop. And, you know, again, looking for
There she is.
yeah. So, and again, we haven't canceled meetings when it comes to tornadoes, when it comes to flooding. I do feel we have to go ahead with business. Caitlin? can you please explain the procedures? And also, I did seek guidance from the clerk's office from the outset, having similar concerns, but I do understand we have to get a lot of this stuff done today.
Hello, Mr. Chair. My apologies. I joined late. Should the committee wish to defer any of the items on the agenda to either the subsequent meeting or to a time to be determined at the call of the chair, you may do so and deal with the balance of the more minor items on the agenda before adjourning the meeting. To adjourn the meeting as a whole would require a majority vote of the committee.
Okay, well, I don't know how that works procedurally, but I'd like to move at this point that we adjourn. We can reconvene when appropriate. So Caitlin, I don't know, how does that work, Caitlin and Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, if I understand correctly, Member Fleury has moved, who I believe is a member of this committee.
Yes.
My apologies, has moved a motion to adjourn the meeting. So members may debate whether or not to adjourn, but that procedural motion is now before you, Mr.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I do see a hand on the board. Councillor Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my hand was raised actually before Councillor Fleury moved adjournment, but I was going to suggest a compromise. Like Councillor Fleury, I too have a number of meetings to attend, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to keep a quorum. I'm not sure if Councillor Leeper and Menard and others also are seized with, you know, the protests downtown like we are, but it may be that I was going to suggest, I don't mind catching up with any items I miss at council because we can debate it at council as well. But Councillor Fleury mentioned that he had 2 inquiries, and I thought maybe we could flip the agenda to accommodate Councillor Fleury and allow him to do that now. And then maybe you may be forced to adjourn if enough councillors have to leave the meeting, like Councillor Fleury and I have to do. But otherwise, I don't mind catching up with the rest of the agenda at council. I wonder, Councillor Fleury, if that would make sense to you.
Well, again, Councillor Deans, we do have a very small agenda today. We have what, 15-minute presentation. Oh, sorry, lost my connection for a second. Sorry about that. Am I back?
We didn't hear a word you said.
That might be a good thing. I do like your suggestion, Councillor Deans, about if it's the will of the committee as we do the agenda clearing to move those items to the beginning, and we'll take it from there.
And I just wanted to ask, is Councillor Fleury gone? Oh, I just
No,
wanted
I'm here. I apologize. There was some lagging.
Yes,
I just wanted to ask Councillor Fleury if he would be amenable to that as an approach.
I think there's serious matters. I'd like to move for adjournment. We can reconvene. We can reconvene at a different time. That's the feeling I have. And the inquiry, let me clarify, the inquiries, there are inquiry responses for which I have directions for. So they're sort of stuck in committee.
Yeah. So again, if that motion's on the floor, I'm looking for hands to debate it. Vice Chair Leeper, keeping in mind we do have a delegation waiting to speak today as well. Vice Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering, Matt, is any of your items that you want to talk about this morning related to the 2 substantive items that are on the agenda? There's the Tremblay Light Rail Multi-Use EA, as well as the Road Safety Action Plan. Were you intending to sort of delegate on those?
I'm certainly interested in both of those. That's why I'm saying, like, my attention is not here and I would have questions. And by the format we're in, it's not easy to get to council and ask questions. Committee is the area where we do ask questions. And I feel that my head's just not there right now. I'm preoccupied by what's happening in my community.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Okay. So seeing no further hands, the motion's on the table. Again, we do have delegations and there is opportunity, as Councillor Deans has mentioned, to speak at council as well. So I'm going to look at Kelly, if you can go ahead and call the votes. If you wish to cancel
John has
today's.
his hand up.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Menard. Sorry about that. I have
It's
lag
okay.
today.
Sorry, Chair. I got it up late there. I just was going to say, in terms of the item that I have on the agenda, I'm happy to move that to council if needed. The situation in the core is untenable right now. So it is I don't know, I guess everyone's receiving a lot of emails about this as well, but it's affecting all of us, and it is difficult. So I would just, I can move that item. I wanted to bring it today because it's fairly, urgent, but not compared to what we're dealing with right now. So I'm happy to bring that to council and get it done there if that's more amenable for today, and get everyone the ability to get the time they need back today to deal with the situation in front of us.
Great. And my understanding, when we were dealing with the pink robots that are driving around, if we dealt with it today, it wouldn't actually go to council. It would actually be dealt with immediately. So there would be more immediate action, but certainly if that's what you wish to do, I'm looking for guidance from Kelly. Is that something that you'll just withdraw it and move it directly to council instead?
If I may, Mr. Chair, if a member is looking to introduce a motion directly at council, they may do so with waiver of the rules, 3/4 of members of council, or give notice of motion at the next council meeting for consideration at the subsequent council meeting on any matter.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Councillor Deans.
I believe Councillor Menard would also have the ability to move referral to council on this item without recommendation.
Yeah, go for it, Caitlin.
Mr. Chair, the motion to adjourn the meeting is before the committee. Should that pass, the meeting would end. There would be no opportunity to give notice or put any items on the floor for consideration. And so the member could bring it to a subsequent committee meeting, or of course, bring it directly to council as previously discussed.
So just to be clear though, theoretically, Councillor Fleury could withdraw that motion right now, allow Councillor Menard to move his item to council without recommendation, and then Councillor Fleury could put his motion back on the table. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, if I understand the councillor's question correctly, should a motion to adjourn either not pass or be withdrawn, then yes, you can proceed with the remainder of the agenda, including consideration of adding items or giving notice of motion for a subsequent meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, that's just one item, and then for us to vote on adjournment.
Okay, so we're
losing you again, Chair.
Councillor Dudas.
I don't want to prolong this. We've talked for 15 minutes. We probably could have gotten a lot of work done. These reports have been out for 10 days prior to this meeting. I know the convoy is taking everybody's attention. If we could accommodate Councillor Fleury, move his items to whenever is the next opportune time, I'd appreciate that. But I think that if we can move through this, we'll probably be done in the next half hour if all of us curb our comments and just move through this conversation quickly. But work needs to still happen through the city. I'd rather us just get this going, accommodate Councillor Fleury as best we can and all of our downtown colleagues, because I agree we need to focus on what's happening in our core. So I'd rather get this done and move along.
Great. You guys can hear me okay now? Okay. Terrific. Okay, we're good.
Still pretty rough connection from you, Mr. Chair.
Can I suggest maybe the vice chair will take over for a bit till we get through till Tim fix his audio system?
Yeah, or perhaps Chair, maybe turning your video off would be helpful.
Good idea. Good idea. I know you all want to see me and all, but great. Thank you. Is that better?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
That's what about
Great. Great. Thanks, guys. We have a motion on the floor for adjournment. If you wish to adjourn the meeting, you will vote in favor. And
I
if
withdrew
you-
my motion, Mr. Chair. Maybe it's the lag. Based on Councillor Dean's point and Caitlin's intervention, if Councillor Manal has urgency, I'm glad to remove it, get that item cleared, and then I would move the motion.
Terrific.
Sure. So I'm happy to move the motion if we want to carry it today or refer it to council. I mean, either is fine with me. I'm happy to move the motion. It requires 2/3 to put it on the agenda today. It's about those little pink robots on our streets that we're starting to see. You know, Chair, I'm in your hands here. I'm happy to do it today. People just want to quickly pass this because I think we've got staff support on it. I've run it by the committee in advance. That would be great. And then maybe we can get back to Councillor Fleury's motion.
Okay, I'm hoping everyone can hear me okay now. So on that, I do want to go through the agenda. Councillor Fleury withdrew his motion to cancel the meeting. So we're going to go ahead and proceed through the agenda.
Whoa, maybe I'm wrong here. Then I will move for adjournment if that's the case, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, and I'll bring the motion to council then. That's fine. If that's the way we're going to proceed, then that's fine. I'll just bring the motion to council.
There must be confusion on lag here. I apologize. So Councillor Fleury's withdrawn the motion to be able to deal with his items at the beginning. Is that not correct? And we're dealing with the rest of the agenda?
No, I understand there'd be no urgency on other items than Councillor Manal. So I was willing to move that and then call for an adjournment. But if that's not the case, if we're going through the regular agenda, then my motion to adjourn would apply.
Okay. That's on the table again. Let's just vote on this. And if you're in favor of adjourning the meeting, you'll vote yes. If you wish to proceed with the meeting, you'll vote no. Kelly, can you please call a vote? And I'm going to try to get a better connection right now.
Councillor Lulov,
No.
Councillor Dudas,
No.
Councillor El Shantiri,
No.
Councillor Deans,
Yes.
Councillor Fleury,
Yes.
Councillor Menard,
Yes.
Councillor Kitts,
No.
Councillor DeRuse,
No.
Councillor Hubley,
No.
Vice Chair Leeper,
Yes.
and Chair.
No.
So that lost 7-4.
Okay, great. So going to the agenda. So, and you'll notice there's two of me now. I'm just going to switch computers real quick. I apologize. Okay. So confirmation of minutes, 24 December 1st, 2021. Are they confirmed?
Confirmed.
Thank you. We have communications.
Are those the inquiry responses, Chair?
That's correct. I believe, Councillor
Could-
Fleury, you were looking at the road cuts one you wanted added to the agenda?
Yeah, could I ask that the two communication be on the next committee agenda, please?
Okay, perfect. That's what we'll do. We'll just shuffle it over there. Perfect. Is that noted by staff?
Carried.
Carried.
Moving the deferral.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
So we'll go on to item number 1. We got to Tremblay Light Rail Station, multi-use pathway crossing for Via Station Environmental Assessment Study. We have no presentations, no delegations, and no correspondence. On this item, is this item carried?
Carried.
Carried.
And I believe there was a small direction, Councillor Fleury, that you had on this specific item?
No, Chair, his direction was related to one of the response to inquiries.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Item number 2, the Strategic Road Safety Action Plan. A lot of work in this. There's about a 15-minute presentation. We'll hold that. And we do have a delegation, Aaron Cunningham from Bike Ottawa as well. And item number 3, status update, Transportation Committee inquiries and motions for the period ending January 21st, 2022. No presentations, delegations, or correspondence. Is this item carried?
Carried.
Carried.
Thank you. We have an additional item. Maybe I'll get, if we can put it up on the screen, if Councillor Menard wishes to deal with it right now, if it's the will of the committee, and I'm seeing a lot of bobbing heads, so that's good news.
Sure, Chair. Thanks very much. I'm happy to read through this. Be it resolved that the rules of procedure be suspended in accordance with subsection 89.3 to permit the introduction of the following motion. I think we just did that. Whereas micro utility devices are becoming more popular in North America to provide last mile delivery service, and whereas such MUDs, including remote controlled and autonomous delivery vehicles, are not currently allowed to operate within the city right of way, including sidewalks, bicycle infrastructure, and roadways, as per the Highway Traffic Act and the city's traffic and parking bylaw. And whereas MUDs have been seen on Ottawa sidewalks recently, and whereas the province of Ontario has indicated that they're considering modifying the province's automated vehicles program, allowing and expanding it to include MUDs, but at this time they have not updated the regulations. And whereas MUDs pose a risk to mobility and accessibility of our pedestrian, bicycle, and automobile infrastructure, and whereas Ottawa has experience with such disruptive technology being deployed prior to it being permitted, and whereas the City of Ottawa will continue to investigate complaints related to the use of unauthorized vehicles within the city's right-of-way, including MUDs, and proceed with the enforcement of applicable city bylaws as appropriate. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to communicate directly with any commercial entities that are known to be or are considering the use of MUDs, and that they are not currently permitted to operate on the city's right-of-way.
Great. So committee, are we okay with that? Is that carried? Terrific. Thank you. I believe there's also a motion, Vice Chair Leeper. Moving on behalf of Councillor McKenney.
Yeah, sorry, on behalf of Councillor McKenney, can I just get that up on the screen, please? So this is that the rules of procedure be suspended in accordance with subsection 89.3 to permit the introduction of the following motion. Whereas the Bank Street BIA will host the fire and ice installations, and whereas many of the fire ice and activities will be happening outdoors on Bank Street between Slater and Somerset, activities consist of interactive installations and visual installations to be seen on a walk through the event site. The event adheres to all COVID provincial legislation and has been reviewed by Bylaw Services and Ottawa Public Health. And whereas the BIA has requested the closure of Bank Street from Slater to Somerset Street, the road closure will begin at 1 p.m. on Friday, 25th of February, 2022 and end at 11 a.m. Sunday, 2022. And whereas the city special events on city roads bylaw prohibits road closures before 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, therefore be it resolved that the Transportation Committee recommend Council approve the road closure for Bank Street from Slater Street to Somerset Street. The road closure will begin at 1 p.m. on Friday, 25th of February 2022 and end at 11 a.m. on Sunday, 27th of February 2022 for the fire and ice street installations, providing it meets the requirements, conditions, and approval of the Special Events Advisory Team.
Terrific. On that item, is it carried?
Carried.
Carried.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we'll go back up to the first item on the agenda. Sorry, item number 2, the Strategic Road Safety Action Plan Annual Report. We do have a very short presentation today. And I will look for Kelly to go ahead and turn the floor over to our wonderful staff. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of Transportation Committee. This presentation will provide an update on the 2020 to 2024 Strategic Road Safety Action Plan. It'll provide an overview of the status of the 2021 initiatives that were delivered under the implementation plan and provide an overview of the 2022 implementation plan. I'll pass the floor over to my colleague, Kathy Karuma, the Senior Engineer of Road Safety, to provide the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, and good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll start off the presentation. The next slide, please. Excuse me. So the Road Safety Action Plan is guided by the theme of Think Safety, Act Safely, and focuses efforts and resources where they are needed the most to have the greatest impact on reducing collisions resulting in serious injury or death. The vision of the plan is a comprehensive and proactive strategy for making Ottawa roads safe for all users. Collectively, the city, including our internal and external partners, are working towards the goal of achieving a reduction in the annual average rate of fatal and major injury collisions of 20% by 2024. The next slide, please. The plan is data-driven, has measurable outcomes, and aligns with the principles of Safe Systems Approach and Vision Zero, in which human life and health are prioritized. Road safety is a shared responsibility between roadway providers, regulators, and users. Human error on the roadway should not lead to death or serious injury, and transportation systems must be designed accordingly. Road safety requires a change in culture. Roadway providers, users, and regulators must work together to be ready to change to achieve the long-term goals of the plan. And finally, our decisions and priorities must be data-driven. Next slide, please. So in addition to the initiatives identified in the Road Safety Action Plan, the City of Ottawa has a number of other plans and programs that contribute to road safety. Essentially, many of these plans shown on the slide proactively address road safety early on in the design process, which helps to avoid potential safety issues once infrastructure is constructed. Some of these plans are currently being updated, such as the Transportation Master Plan, as well as the Active Transportation Plan, which will combine Ottawa's pedestrian and cycling plans into one. And others were recently completed in 2021, such as the Protected Intersection Design Guide, which provides guidance on the design of protected intersections within the City of Ottawa, as well as also completed in 2021, the Local Residential Streets 30 km/h design toolbox, which identifies speed reduction measures that can be applied to all new local residential streets or when reconstruction occurs to ensure that these local roads are designed for a 30 km/h operating speed. The next slide, please. So the Road Safety Action funding is linked to the Automated Speed Enforcement and School Bus Camera Pilot Project report, which was approved in October 2021. The report recommends that all the net automated enforcement revenues be allocated to the Road Safety Reserve Fund, and the funding used towards the implementation of initiatives identified in the Road Safety Action Plan. In 2022, the Road Safety Action Program budget is $7.2 million. Next slide, please. So the Road Safety Action Plan budget is allocated such that it focuses, again, as I mentioned, our efforts and resources where they are needed the most to have the greatest impact on reducing collisions that result in serious injury or death. So the council-approved plan focuses on the four main emphasis areas, which are vulnerable road users, intersections, rural areas, and high-risk drivers, and another overarching emphasis area referred to as road safety culture. So shown here in the table is the proportion of funding that will be allocated to each of the emphasis areas. And it should be noted that some of these areas overlap. For example, when we implement improvements at intersections, such as protected left turn phasing, we're not only benefiting the safety at the intersections, we are also benefiting safety for vulnerable road users, including pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. We would also like to note that, as I mentioned, through other programs and initiatives, the City of Ottawa currently contributes $44.3 million overall to road safety. Next slide, please. Thank you. So one of the key components of the Road Safety Action Plan is the opportunity to seek input from both internal and external stakeholders. So our community partners are very passionate and dedicated, and they generously commit their time to assisting us through our Road Safety Action Plan external working group. In 2021, we held 3 meetings with the external working group, and we intend to continue to host meetings to ensure engagement in 2022. For our internal working group, we have representatives from all of the groups listed here on the slide. In 2021, the group met to track progress on initiatives and will continue to do so in 2022. This working group helps to ensure that all participating partners are on track to delivering their areas of responsibility as outlined in the plan, as well as to help identify opportunities for more collaboration that helps us work towards our common objective of improving road safety. Next slide, please. So in the field of road safety, collision data is assessed over a period of time, typically 5 years. The Road Safety Action Plan focuses on fatal and major injury collisions. So this table compares the 2013 to 2017 collision data, which was available to us at the time of the development of the plan, to the most recent available data, which is 2016 to 2020. So a collision which one or more persons suffers a fatal or major injury is referred to as a fatal or major injury collision, shown here in the table as FMI. Injuries are classified as major if the involved person sustains an injury that was severe enough for the person to be transported and admitted to hospital as a result of the collision. So this data is showing us that the total number of fatal and major injury collisions, the 5-year fatal and major injury collision rates, as well as the average number of fatalities has decreased when comparing the 2 data sets. We also must note that the RSAT Road Safety Action Plan was approved by Council in 2019, and the initiatives began in 2020. Therefore, the results of the initiatives implemented in 2020 will be analyzed in future years. And we also highlight that due to the impacts of the pandemic, there have been fewer trips by residents given the various restrictions. We have also seen a significant decrease in the reported number of collisions in 2020 when compared to 2019, and a corresponding decrease in overall fatal and major injury collisions. Next slide, please. So now we'll just highlight some of the initiatives completed in 2021 and the proposed initiatives for 2022 for each of the emphasis areas. A full summary of the measures can be found in document 1, which reports the status of 2021 measures, and then a summary of the proposed 2022 initiatives can be found in document 2 for your reference. So starting with vulnerable road users, as we know, pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists are the most vulnerable road users on our roads. Of the 712 fatal and major injury collisions between 2016 and 2020, 24% involved pedestrians, 15% involved motorcyclists, 12% involved cyclists, and less than 1% involved cyclists on an e-bike. Next slide, please. So to highlight the initiatives implemented in 2021 to improve on pedestrian safety, these included high visibility ladder markings at 11 locations, leading pedestrian intervals at 16 locations, and no right turn on red restrictions at 4 locations, as well as new pedestrian crossovers at 2 roundabouts with a 3rd location planned in 2022. In 2022, we will continue to implement a lot of these same measures, as well as new traffic signal features to improve on pedestrian safety. We will implement the PXOs, pedestrian crossovers that were identified as a result of the traffic calming in school areas initiative in 2021, as well as accessibility upgrades to a number of our existing pedestrian crossing locations. Next slide. So in terms of cyclists, in 2021, the detailed designs are underway for 3 of the high volume cycling vehicle interaction locations. And in 2022, we plan to do 2 additional detailed designs for cycling safety enhancements. One of the locations will be identified through the high volume cycling safety study, and the second location was identified through our cycling safety improvement program. We will also incorporate new traffic signal features and education campaigns focus on cyclist and signalized intersections. Next slide, please. For motorcyclists, we established the Motorcycle Safety Working Group and conducted annual enhanced collision data monitoring. We delivered 15 sessions of the enhanced motorcycle safety training course. And in 2022, we'll continue to work on our comprehensive motorcycle safety strategy and working closely with our Motorcycle Safety Working Group. We also intend to continue to deliver in a modified format due to the continued presence of COVID rider training for up to 100 motorcyclists. Next slide, please. So moving on to the next emphasis area of intersections. More than half of all fatal and serious injury collisions in Ottawa each year happen at intersections. Of the 712 fatal and major injury collisions, 55% occurred at or are related to intersections. Next slide. So in 2021, we initiated the functional designs for fully protected left turn operations with detailed design and construction plan for 2022. Detailed safety assessments were completed at 5 at-grade rail crossings, and a new intersection site distance measurement guideline was completed for city staff. In 2022, we plan to continue with protected left turn implementation at up to 5 locations, or conduct functional design if geometric modifications are required. We will continue with 1 detailed safety assessment at an at-grade rail crossing, as well as geometric modifications at an at-grade rail crossing to comply with Transport Canada's grade crossing regulations. And we will undertake another detailed design at 1 intersection that meets traffic signal warrants. Next slide, please. Moving on to rural roads. Excuse me. More fatal injury collisions happen on Ottawa rural roads than anywhere else in the city. Of the 712 fatal and major injury collisions, 22% occurred in the rural areas, and out of our 121 fatal collisions between 2016 and 2020, 36% occurred in the rural areas. Next slide, please. As such, our focus in 2021 was to initiate the detailed design at 3 rural skewed intersections to be completed in 2022, as well as implementing short-term countermeasures identified in our rural skewed intersections study. And skewed intersections in the rural area are non-standard type, non-conventional intersections that are common in the city of Ottawa. Our second initiative, which is ongoing, is our Safety Edge pilot study. And we also implemented signage and pavement enhancements at 9 rural stop locations. Similarly, in 2022, safety edges will be implemented as part of the 2022 resurfacing program. Signage and pavement marking and/or lighting upgrades will be implemented at up to 10 rural locations, and a new educational and outreach program in rural schools related to the operation of motorized recreational vehicles. Next slide, please. Moving along to high-risk drivers. So aggressive, distracted, and impaired driving was a contributing factor to fatal and major injury collisions. Out of our 712 fatal and major injury collisions, approximately 67% involved high-risk driver behavior. Slide, please. So in 2021, the accomplishments include establishing the automated speed enforcement program, initiating the installation of 10 new red light cameras with anticipated completion by Q1 of 2022. In partnership with OPS, who are committed and continue to deliver the critical component of the plan, which includes enforcement measures, the delivery of speed-related and impaired driver enforcement was undertaken. As mentioned earlier, the 30-kilometer design guidelines were complete and 30-kilometer designs were incorporated on 18 roadways. With our partners in transportation planning, we developed the traffic calming in school areas program and implemented traffic calming measures in the vicinity of schools. The designs are completed for 3 locations with construction planned in 2022 and installed 30-kilometer and 40-kilometer gateway speed limit signage in 18 wards. Next slide, please. So in 2022, we'll continue with the designing new local roads or reconstructions to a targeted operating speed of 30 kilometers per hour, implementing traffic calming in 3 new school areas identified by the new program, installing gateway speed signage in 1 area per ward, continuing with the impaired driver enforcement programs, developing and delivering an OPS traffic enforcement plan, which is intended to be a data-driven, intelligence-based traffic enforcement plan that includes initiatives that will support the road safety action plan, update the school zone policy, review the delivery model for school bus cameras, develop an automated speed enforcement selection criteria for playgrounds and high-speed sites, and install 12 speed cameras. Next slide, please. And our final area, which we consider to be one of the key components to the success of the plan, is changing road safety culture. So in 2021, excuse me, we delivered the 2021 Road Safety Action Plan Communications Plan. This involves targeted campaigns aimed at education and changing the behavior of road users. The delivery of 5 virtual safety training course sessions to 128 staff within the city. So this training is provided to staff who make decisions about the roadway, excuse me, and highlight key considerations for each emphasis area. And the completion of the road safety audit procedures guideline, and where road safety audits were included on 9 city projects. Road safety audits essentially help to identify potential safety risks for various road users early on in the design phase of the projects. These identified risks can be mitigated and assessed by the project team for integration into the final design. So this helps to avoid future safety issues by identifying potential risk early on and rectifying them before transportation facilities are constructed. So in 2022, similarly, we'll deliver the 2022 Road Safety Action Plan Communications Plan. We'll hold more road safety training school sessions and support stakeholders in the road safety audit process. So now staff must follow the road safety audit procedures, which helps to indicate when a road safety audit is required for a project based on the project size, costs, type of project, and roadway classification. We will also work to clarify the development requirements for road safety audits for the developer-led projects on the city right-of-way. Next slide, please. So that concludes, excuse me, our presentation for today. I understand time is limited, but if other questions come up and we don't have enough time today to address questions, we're happy to speak with your offices if necessary.
Wonderful, thank you. We're going to go directly to delegations. We have Aaron Cunningham from Bike Ottawa.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation on the Road Safety Action Plan. I'm here to speak on behalf of Bike Ottawa. And I'd like to start by saying that, we're glad to see that the funding from automated speed enforcement cameras will be directed to the Road Safety Action Plan. Many of the items in the action plan are welcome improvements to our streets, such as improving accessibility at intersections and upgrading pedestrian crossings. At the same time, we know there's no shortage of places in our streets where funding can be used to improve safety, and that there's a lot of problems that we need to make headway on it that will require significantly higher level of investment. And an example of this is the high-risk intersections identified by the city in September of 2020. The 2022 work plan identifies modifications on up to 3 intersections pending funding from the federal government in 2022. With 29 intersections that the city has identified that it can proceed on, this is more than a decade's worth of work, assuming that the federal government provides funding, of course, which we don't know that they will provide every year. Given the need to address infrastructure deficiencies that create unsafe conditions, we're also concerned to see that we're still moving forward with amber lock, further convoluting the number of treatments people can expect to find at intersections, particularly people on bikes, rather than simply guaranteeing a green light once a sensor detects a person on a bike. This is actually at odds with what was identified as an action item in the 2020 Road Safety Action Plan, where the commitment was made to eliminate red reverts when multi-use pathways and cross rides are present. We can also see in the statistics presented in the 2021 report that in most instances we're not developing a trend where the number of FMIs is coming down in a convincing way. The report indicates that by aiming to achieve the principles under Vision Zero and a safe systems approach, the city can support Ottawa's vulnerable road users, pedestrians and cyclists mainly, in choosing low carbon modes of transportation through increasing road safety and security. I'd point out that with the Transportation Master Plan and development that acknowledges that the number of trips taken by private automobile will need to be reduced by 58%, to 58% from the current 74% by 2030, we need to treat this with great urgency. We've seen in the last 10 years in this city that more people will travel by bike and walk if the safe infrastructure is in place. That is why biking in particular has been the fastest growing mode of transportation in the city. But if we don't make these investments in infrastructure that are safe and intuitive to use, we will not reach those goals. As such, Bike Ottawa recommends that the Road Safety Action Plan be retooled so that there's a greater emphasis on having safe infrastructure built at a quicker rate and funding be increased to a sufficient level to address high priority infrastructure projects more quickly so the city can meet its 2030 targets for GHG reductions and increasing active transportation. Thank you.
Right on time as usual. I do see 2 hands, but I believe that's for staff questions and not the delegation. Okay,
Correct.
Good. Okay, so I don't see any other hands up. Aaron, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming out today. At this point, we'll move to questions to staff. Councillor Hubley.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is, if you could go back to the slide that showed the years that you were getting the statistics. There was 2 groups of years. I think one was 2017 to 2020. Can we get that slide back up?
My apologies, Chair. I wonder if staff knows what number the slide is that the councillor is referring to?
Just move through it quickly and we should be able to find it. Okay, there's your group. So the slide before this has the numbers. What I'm internal work. Okay, next slide then. where you've got the numbers. So in this collision data, one set is 2013 to 2017, the other is 2016 to 2020. So there's an overlap in there of 2 years worth of data. So what did you do to make sure that that wasn't double counted in both sets?
Through you, Chair. The collision data that's represented in this table summarizes the 5-year baseline period that we used to develop the plan. So we use that data to establish the rates of collision in the 5 years preceding the plan. We're comparing that to the 2016 to 2020 data. So that would only include collisions that occurred between 2016 and 2020. The 2 years between, there's no, so sorry. So the 20, we're just looking at 5-year periods and comparing the two.
But there's
so
an
there is a little bit of
overlap.
overlap.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of overlap in that 2016 and 2017 are included in the most recent 5-year period. And as we progress that 5-year period, we'll start losing some of the previous years. But we're looking at a 5-year rolling average of fatal and major injury collisions to determine the effectiveness of the plan. Collisions are rare and random. They do go up and down from year to year. And so there will be some spikes and valleys along the way. So that's why we look at a 5-year period to get a better picture of what's going on.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Hubley. Councillor Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My quick question, and if the staff don't have the answer today, I'm happy to, if they can send me an email. And on slide 15, there was a 3 intersections skewed for review and for high risk. Do you have the name of those intersections? And if you don't have them, Krista, I'm okay if you email me after. I just like to know what the intersections are, locations.
Yes, Councillor, I can provide the names of the intersections for this study. The 3 intersections were Navin and Trim, Cox County and Frank Kenny, Century Road West and McCordick.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Kitts.
Thanks, Chair. Several enforcement-based strategies for the 2021 plan are noted as canceled, including rural speed enforcement, which I will note was also canceled in the 2020 plan because I asked about it last year. And you just noted, Kristen, in your presentation that most fatal and major collisions happen in the rural area. So I'm just wondering, why is this the program that continues to be canceled?
Through you, Chair. Unfortunately, the Ottawa Police weren't able to be here today just because of all the events that are going on. But originally, when this plan was first set out, it was intended to do some dedicated enforcement, similar to some programs that we do. Unfortunately, with resourcing issues, that wasn't done. It doesn't mean that they're not doing enforcement in the rural areas, but because of the resourcing issues they've had, they haven't been able to concentrate that. So we are working with Ottawa Police this year in terms of providing them the data as to where we're seeing these high risk collisions, because as noted in the presentation, the majority of the fatalities and major injuries happen in the rural areas, to do some enforcement in those areas. But I can follow up with Ottawa Police if you wish, and have them follow up with you in your office to get more information if that helps.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have some other questions, but I'll take them offline. Thanks, Chair.
Great, thank you very much for that. Looking at the board, I don't see any further hands up at this point. So I do want to thank staff for the tremendous work that they put into this, and I won't drag this meeting along any further than I need to. So on this item, Strategic Road Safety Action Plan Annual Report, is this received?
Received.
Received.
Terrific, thank you. Moving down to notices of motion. Vice Chair Leeper, do we have a notice of motion from you today?
I should, on the Hickory Street encroachment fees, and I would just ask staff to put that up because I know there was some work on that last night.
Yeah, some good work. Thank you for that.
Vice Chair Leeper, is it a notice of motion or
No,
you want?
no, it's notice,
Okay.
please. Just to make sure that I have the correct version, sorry, I've pulled it up on this guide. Therefore, be it resolved, the council approve the reduction of development-related temporary construction fees for the Hickory Street municipal right-of-way for a period of 8 months by 50% in recognition of the fact that these lands will be both used for remediation and construction staging at the same time for an anticipated revenue loss of $6,000. And be it further resolved that all temporary construction encroachment fees collected in association with the development and estimated to be approximately $650K based on the estimated need for space within the municipal right-of-way during constructed be directed to a new internal order and used to fund the design and implementation of streetscaping improvements on Hickory Street municipal right-of-way, and be it further resolved that staff be directed to explore the possibility of an agreement to facilitate the construction of the streetscaping improvements by Soho Champagne Phase 2 Limited Partnership within the timeline of the development works they are undertaking at 115 Champagne Avenue South, and that the general manager planning, real estate and economic development be delegated the authority to enter into such agreement to the upset limit of the temporary construction encroachment revenue collected to fund the design and implementation of streetscaping improvements on Hickory Street municipal right-of-way to the satisfaction of the general manager, planning, real estate and economic development, and the city solicitor, with appropriate reporting out on the use of this delegation to council.
Great, terrific. Thank you very much for that. So we'll deal with that the next meeting. Seeing no other business, adjournment, and the next meeting will be March 2nd, 2022. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.